All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, what is today, July 27th. Okay, you know what that means? That means we're at the end of the 7th month of the year. You got 5 months left. My video this morning was, spoiler alert, you have 90 to 120 days to write business that'll still close this year. How about that? All right, today we are very fortunate from the lovely state of Arizona, Scottsdale office, to have Sherri Parkin. Sherri, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's start off with telling a little about yourself. How long have you been doing this wonderful thing called real estate?
Right. So I started in 2014. My profession is a CPA. I got my license in 91, graduated from NAU in 88. But I've always, when I was practicing as a CPA, I was always doing construction, real estate. I was even a CFO for a home building company. So I love real estate. I always have. And so when I was looking to make a career change in 2014, actually it was kind of forced upon me with all the changes, the economy and stuff like that. I was like,
right.
Let's try something different. And so I'm like, why not get my real estate license and see how it goes? And ever since then, I love it. So that's kind of my story.
That's great.
And I still am a CPA.
You got your license.
Yeah.
You're a CPA originally, and then morphed into a real estate extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And you have your license in a couple other states too, don't you?
I do in Florida. So I actually got my license in New York in 2019, right before COVID.
Yep.
So I did not
I
decided not to renew my license in New York. But my Florida license, in fact, I'm taking classes right now because I have to have my CE for that. So I keep that renewed, but it's not active. So whenever I'm ready to go to Florida to be with family, I'm ready.
I was going to say, yeah, you have family in Florida. That's great. Yeah, Florida's a great place to retire too. Not that you're anywhere close to that, but it is. All right, cool. And so, the one good thing, the one great thing about what you've done recently is, a lot of your top producer years, or a few of them, were with working with investors, and now you've kind of morphed into dealing with, one transaction at a time, because there's pros and cons with working with investors, obviously. So tell me a little about that and why you did that, please.
Right. So back in 2016, I became the CFO for an investor, which they had their own brokerage, but I wasn't a part of that. And I stayed with Berkshire Hathaway. But then the brokerage, they closed it, and all of a sudden I became the agent for all of their properties. They owned about 150 homes, and they sold off a little over half. I think I did 65 sales in 1 year, 12-month period. So really
awesome.
It was like, it was like all of a sudden, boom. But, he passed away in 2020, right before COVID, honestly. It was weird. It was January 10th of 2020. He was in a car accident. So that kind of ended itself for different reasons, but obviously it was time to move on and do something different. And took a little bit of time to kind of, go through that with you as to, what's my next step? What am I doing? I'm so used to having this investor situation. And so I did actually start with Realtor.com and got more buyers, and that has proved to be very lucrative. I can't say it's easy, but at the same time, it is, for the most part, willing buyers that are ready, and they turn into sellers. I've done a lot of transactions where I got them through Realtor.com as a buyer. Then, a year or two later, then they're ready to sell, and they call me. In fact, I just got one yesterday. They're ready to sell, and I sold them through Realtor.com years ago. So, that's kind of where I morphed into that. I still do calls, and I do a lot of email campaigns and things like that. But buyers is where I transitioned to after I got through with the investor situation. That was definitely a couple of years of it was exciting, but it was definitely a lot of work too. But it was a different kind of work. You didn't have to go market yourself. But I mean, I was doing 8 transactions in 1 month. It was a lot. And I did not have a transaction coordinator. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And then, and I compare that like to my new construction where I had one builder and one person. And then, freak things happen, like somebody dies and yours is a car accident. And then all of a sudden you gotta start from scratch, which basically I lost half my business overnight too. My builder decided to start his own company. And, that's why, being consistent with the prospecting and filling the pipeline. And so, last year was kind of a rebuilding year, and, you rebuild and you got going, and now you're probably in the top 2, 1. You may be number 1 in your office as an individual agent, right? But so it took you a while to get back into gear. And I think that's the important part for them to hear when you're creating it from scratch, right?
And I try, people tell me what my status is, but honestly, I try not to look at it. I don't.
Right.
Just because if you are the top, then you're not pushing yourself to keep going, you know what I mean? And then if you're at the bottom, then it can be defeating. So but I'm the same with the Confirm report. I don't really get into the market. The market is whatever you make the market. So I try to stay away from comparison when it comes to me and you know what is so funny? When I did sell those 65 homes, when I was like so immersed in the whole thing, I didn't know that I was number 4 in all of Arizona. I had no idea until I got up on stage. Don, my manager, never told me. And it wasn't until I kept waiting for my name to be called, and it wasn't called, and it wasn't called. I'm like, well, where am I on this list? And it turned out I was number 4 in the whole state. So I try not to, but people do tell me. But I try. I try to stay away from that.
Yeah, I know. That's why on our coaching, I very rarely bring it up. But I figure for this, with other people listening to, it adds credibility to what you're doing, which is, and I appreciate what you're talking about because, I mean, ultimately you're in competition with yourself, right? Even when you had the year when things weren't going, when you made the transition, you knew. I mean, based on our conversations, I remember you knew it was going to take a little time to get back in gear, but what you have to do. But now it's more predictable, right? Because you're dealing, other than that weird situation. Tell me about that weird situation that you just had where the guy just disappeared. I mean, that's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is. I had the seller, and he really wanted to sell, and it was just so weird that one day he's talking to me, we're texting back and forth, and he's like, I want to come back out to Phoenix, and I'm going to, get another little house to kind of replace this one, and then nothing. I'm like, and so I had to get legal involved, I had to get Forrest involved, I had to, break the news to the other agent, and, and all I can say is if weird things happen, get the broker involved as soon as you need to. And that I fortunately, I just had this feeling. I'm like, this is weird. You get to know your client's cadence of response. And within a couple of days, I'm like, this is just weird. This isn't right. And so I did get Forrest and Darren involved and notified the other party. But no, we didn't ever close. So it was very sad.
Very sad, and you still don't know what happened with the guy. He just disappeared off the face of the earth, which is the strangest thing ever.
Right.
But anyway, back to
AI.
Yeah, right. Hunt him down. Don't waste your time. But you're not a private investigator.
No, I did. I did use AI to try to. I spent more time on it than I thought I would. I was trying to figure out, hey, can we figure this out? But didn't happen.
But now, so you're, a few years ago, you're thinking, okay, so now I'm going to go from really dealing with one seller to multiple sellers, and you knew what you had to do in order to do that, correct?
Yes. I mean, expired and cancels are really where it's at when you're trying to get listings and you don't know the people. Because at one point they wanted to sell, and, more than half of them were very disappointed that it didn't, sell. there's going to be a few that, the job transfer didn't go through, or there's no reason to move anymore, or, there's a few like that. And
Right.
and those are usually the no's that you get that are kind of angry, and you just kind of let that fly, like whatever. I always try to be understanding that they've gotten many people trying to get their business. And so, in fact, I had a email yesterday. I was doing an email campaign, and this one guy, he's like, stop. And so I said, will do. I have this like text that automatically, it's like text replacement. So it says, will do. So sorry, with like a sad face, And I never really get any pushback after that, because there's no reason to get upset with them. They just want you to stop. Hey, mate, how many times have I told somebody to stop?
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
it happens.
You can't let your ego get in the way when you're prospecting, because you're going to get rejection, and it's just part of the game.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, I know who now to focus on. That's good. Thanks.
Right. And then you got into your groove, and you started taking listings and making sales, and now you've climbed all the way back up, just doing it a different way, which to me is the better way, because now the only person you need in the equation is you. You don't need that big seller with all kinds of business. You just need you following the system and doing what you do, right?
Yeah. And I think something happened with my mindset last year. They always talk about how your mindset really makes a big difference. And I guess I kind of believed it, but I didn't really believe it as much until I lived it. And then I'm like, whoa, I need to really get back up. I need to get my mind. So I really, the last quarter of last year, when it was all like a shit show, it was horrible. Actually, it was one of my worst years last year. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on positivity. I started listening to Evan Carmichael. I don't know if you've heard of him. And then Jimmy Burgess and Tony Robbins.
I know Jimmy.
And Christian stuff. And my December, which turned into my January, which is like night and day from what I was dealing with. And so I kind of just had to take a step back and think, okay, where's my mindset? What's going on here? And let's turn this around. So, mindset's a huge thing.
Oh, my God, yes. It makes all the difference. Because I coach people that go through the motions and don't get results, and they wonder why. And I'm like, because you have to expect. You got to get to a certain point where you expect, because you program yourself. Like you just said, all the different things you're doing, you're coached. You're listening to great stuff like Jimmy, and you use company tools really well too. You know how to use branding.
I do. I love the neighborhood reports. Yeah, the neighborhood reports.
I know, it's one of my favorites.
Listings. I got a 1.4 million. That's probably the highest listing I've got, is a $1.4 million listing from just neighborhood reports. And so I've gotten other listings too at different price points. It's just an easy way. Once you set it, then, as far as being top of mind, that is the easiest, cheapest way to stay top of mind for all of your clients. And I felt bad because, like, I've had a lot of neighborhood reports that keep getting opened by the people every week, and I feel like, oh, maybe I need to do something different for them, something to not in place of, but in addition to. And so this last month, I started doing the market report, and so I did change the photo just because it didn't resonate with me on the photo, so I changed the photo out on that. And so I put a little blurb, hey, just thought that maybe you would like these monthly market reports. They'll come out the first week. If it's not your thing, that's fine, let me know. And I have had nobody say, oh, it's not my thing, I don't want it. So now they get the market report every month, and they're getting their neighborhood reports every week. And according to Mary Sand, my open rate is in the 40 percentile.
That's amazing.
I know, right?
Yeah. And there's another name you should know if you're in Arizona. Mary Sand, she'll meet with you and help you set up everything that you're talking about right now too, what Sherri's talking about. So I would definitely, and then Every state has a different person, so they know your marketing person well.
Yeah. So, and we also have Riley. She's like
right.
That person. But Mary Sand, when it comes to like the website and what's going on with that, she's like amazing. Like she laughs. She goes, Sherri, can you just do what you need to do and then break this? Because it's like, I'm the one that breaks things because I use the tools so much. Kind of an ongoing joke with us. But it does help them because then, like, if something's not working right, I'm like, hey, this didn't work right. And she's like, okay, well, then we go in and we'll do this. So they really are good about fixing problems. We had a problem with Arizona Department of Real Estate requiring our logo to be at the top and without the scroll. And her and I worked through it. We spent like a half an hour, and we realized that there was only one type of website theme that actually did that. And so now they've moved everything to that theme, and they may change it up, later. But she's great to work with.
She's great, and Riley too. And and once again, every state has a different person, and it's great. And you use the company tools, like you mentioned, expireds and withdrawns and so forth. And you got the list and you set them up with neighborhood reports and you market to them, and then people actually look at it. And so even if like some people out there don't like making phone calls, you don't have to make phone calls. You can do kind of the way you did. You marketed to them, and some of them reached out, and some of them opened it up, and some of them you reached out to them. So there's a number of ways you can do it.
Yeah, I actually do feel that phone calls, it's not that they don't, people do not like to get phone calls anymore. And they have, gatekeepers, and they have this. So if you can do what I call a warm call, in other words, they've already known you. Like they've opened up your emails and stuff like that. I really don't normally bother somebody that hasn't even taken the time to open up an email. I focus only on people that have opened up my email, and I really focus on people that have clicked through, because you can see that too. Because then they already know me. They're, me calling them when that's happened is not the same as, getting some random phone call that you're like, why are you bothering me?
Right.
So I call it a warm call. I think that's the term. But anyway, I want to make sure that they know who I am before I give them a call.
Yep. So, I mean, it just goes to show there's a number of ways to do this. You don't have to do it one set way, and company tools are excellent. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a company guy. I'm supposed to say that, of course, but it's actually true if you use the stuff that we have. I say this all the time. We're the best. You can go to 100% company, but you're not going to get anything. If you're going to run a business and you want drip campaigns and marketing, and we have so many things for you to use. If you use them, then I think we're the best gig in town, because you have to buy all that stuff yourself. If you're running a business in today's world, you need that stuff. So, but anyway, let's get into one other thing here. Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I use the agent icon, the design studio, and the Koshi and all that stuff. Yeah. It's really good quality social media that's already branded. It's awesome.
Yeah, and there's templates in there too. And, I always tell people, even if you use the stock stuff that's in there, it looks like your own customized marketing plan, because, unfortunately, not a lot of agents use it consistently. And if you do, they're not going to see it from anybody else but you, which is, I think, is really cool.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So my favorite question for a top producer like yourself, top 3 things. So I'm an agent trying to come out of the gate hot, or even go to the next level. What's the 3 most important things you tell them to focus on?
Your systems. If you don't know what you're going to do with a lead when you get it, it's just not helpful. So you really have to figure out, when I get a Realtor.com lead, they go on either an action plan of that I contacted them, or an action plan that I didn't get contact with them. And so there are certain steps that happen. The same with, a listing, even your listings, once you do have the listing, if you need to have your systems, because it's going to, when you go to a listing appointment and they're going to ask, what do you do? and you don't know what you do, you're not going to get the listing probably. I mean, you might if it's your brother or your sister or your mom, but I'm just saying you really should have your own marketing. I mean, we do have marketing things, but I like to make them my own. And so you have to have your systems figured out so that you get from point A to point B and get it all done. So that's number one.
Number one, yeah.
Number
that's a good
two,
one.
Yeah. Number two, I always say this. I answer my phone.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. I cannot believe how many agents, their phone deprived. They're like, can I just text you? Or they just don't get back to you. Yeah, you have to answer your phone. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I have started putting the name, when an agent puts in for a showing request, I automatically put their name into my phone so that if they call right when the showing is, I know who they are. It's not just some random phone number. And I'm like, hey, Angie, what's going on? Do you have any questions? Because it's already in my phone. So I just like to make things as easy as possible. So to do that. Third thing, I guess consider where they're coming from. I've had lots of buyers that, they thought that they were ready to go. We even got under contract and then they're like, no, I think I'm just going to rent. And while you want to make sure that they understand the choices that they make, be okay with that. I don't ever get upset with anybody. In fact, I have had people come back to me. I remember this one gal and her husband. She literally told me because it was a Realtor.com lead, and you know how they jump around sometimes with different agents?
Yeah.
He's like, we decided to go back to that nice lady. That was me. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. And, so I just give grace. When people can't figure out what they want to do, whether they're a buyer or they're a seller, just let them be them, and it'll always come back. You'll feel better about yourself anyway, and if they don't come back, that's fine. That's okay. But a lot of times it does come back, and they're like, oh, we're ready, and we want to use you. You were so awesome when we changed our mind. So, yeah.
I would call that listening to what they want, and just giving them, I think sometimes they need additional information based on what they're saying, but after getting additional information, if they decide we're going to rent another year, well, yeah, I mean, you can't, when I do success stories, sometimes people will ask me, well, how do you make them motivated? I go, you can't. Do you have a gun?
Yeah.
You can't make them motivated. You can only work with people who are motivated. That's how, because a lot, all the information in the world, and then they make a decision that they believe is the best for them. All you can do is go along with it. There's nothing else you can do at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite is no worries. I've even had, in fact, this just happened a while back. It was a Realtor.com lead, and I blame myself because I kind of lost track of him. He's like, I'm just taking a little bit of a break. And then he, a month or two later, then he did go with another agent, and I saw that. And I sent him a text message. I said, congratulations on your first purchase, because it was a young kid. I said, and I'm sending you best wishes that you have many more real estate transactions in the future. And he was like blown away. His response to me was like, wow, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're not mad at me. I really appreciate it. You really did help me out, and I'm sorry that, I wasn't able to use you in the end. And it's just like, it was a good feeling, and that to me is just, and whether he does use me again in the future or doesn't, I still feel good about the transaction. I don't feel bitter or anything like that. And, that goes back to mindset, If you have positivity, I think it radiates throughout everything. So my favorite is no worries.
You have positivity and you also have confidence, and I think those two things that, if it's not him, it'll be somebody else, right? So you offer up what you have. I can't tell you how many times in my coaching people have said to me, you're not going to believe what this client did to me. And I'm like, wait a minute, to you? they did what they thought was right for them, right? They don't wake up in the morning and go,
Right.
you know what, honey? How can we screw with Sherri today?
Over.
Yeah. Let's make her think we're going to buy a house, put a deposit, and then disappear off the face of the planet and not buy it. They don't do that intentionally, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
crazy stuff happens.
It's not always about us.
Right. I know it, right? It's like, remember, it was a big thing. As a matter of fact, well, who was it? Who was it that came up with was it Socrates? I can't remember, but one of them came up with, well, no, the earth, the sun doesn't revolve around the earth revolves around the sun.
And the sun, yes.
And they actually, right? And that was even in the churches, and he was like extricated. I don't know if they killed him, but pretty much, because it was such a crazy thought at that time. Wait a minute, we don't revolve, everything doesn't revolve around us? And I can tell sometimes, right, you know what I mean? No, we're revolving around the sun. We're one of many planets and many, but so sometimes people need to understand that fiduciary responsibility. They really do.
Yeah. So those are my three.
Cool. I love them.
Helpful to people.
I think they're great. Any final words you want to leave these lovely people? Because we're right at time too. Anything I didn't ask you that you want to say?
Don't worry about what they say the market is. It doesn't matter. The market is not your source. You, and I believe in God, you create your own market. Just don't even bother listening to all the BS, because I can tell you there's closings happening every day and they could be yours.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. So great. So it's really, when I was, so I grew up right outside of Boston, and one of the minority owners, Sam Tamposi Sr., who has passed away now, but I wanted to be in the same building as him when I ran my small company. And I used to meet with him every now and then. He went through cancer treatments, and he was a champ through the whole thing. And I used to meet with him every now and then. And he said to me, Rick, I'm going to tell you the 10 most inspirational 2-letter words in the dictionary. And he said, if it is to be, it is up to me. I always remember that, because it's so true. Isn't it good?
I like that. Yeah, that is good.
All right, Sherri Parkin, I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out today. I'm sure a whole bunch of people got nuggets out of this, and they'll be listening to it. And, and I will tell you, I'll give you your numbers. You're a CPA. I always keep track of how many people view it when it's on the YouTube channel. And sometimes I'm actually shocked at how many times they're viewed. So I want to tell you, thank you very much for taking your time out today, and enjoy the rest of your day. And bye, everybody. Bye, Sherri. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.